Now the whole earth had one language and the same words, and as people migrated from the east, they found a plain in the land of Shinar and settled there. And they said to one another, "Come, let us make bricks, and burn them thoroughly." And they had brick for stone, and bitumen for mortar. Then they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower with its top in the heavens, and let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be dispersed over the face of the whole earth." Imagine this scene: a united humanity, all speaking the same language, possessing incredible technological innovation. They had developed advanced brick-making techniques, using fire to create durable building materials, and they discovered natural asphalt as mortar. This wasn't a primitive society. This was a civilization with remarkable engineering capabilities, but their technological progress far outpaced their spiritual maturity. Notice their stated goals: build a city, construct a tower reaching to heaven, make a name for themselves, and prevent being scattered. Each of these objectives reveals a heart in rebellion against God's explicit command to fill the earth. After the flood, God had told Noah and his descendants to be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. But these people said, "Lest we be dispersed." They sought security in centralized human achievement rather than in God's provision. They wanted to make a name for themselves, to establish their own reputation and legacy rather than living for God's glory. This represents humanity's first organized religious rebellion and attempt to reach heaven on human terms, through human effort. And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower, which the children of man had built. And the Lord said, "Behold, they are one people, and they have all one language, and this is only the beginning of what they will do. And nothing that they propose to do will now be impossible for them." This is one of the most sobering verses in Scripture. God isn't threatened by human achievement. He is concerned about human potential for evil when united in rebellion against Him. The phrase "nothing will be impossible for them" doesn't mean God feels threatened. It means He knows the devastating consequences of unified human rebellion. Think about it. If humanity could accomplish whatever they imagined without moral constraints, they would eventually destroy themselves and corrupt God's creation beyond repair. A common mistake in interpreting this story is viewing God as jealous or threatened. Nothing could be further from the truth. God's intervention at Babel was an act of mercy both for that generation and for generations to come. By limiting human ability to collaborate in rebellion, God actually preserved human freedom and potential for redemption. An insider secret of God's character is that He often limits our capacity for sin, not because He wants to restrict us, but because He wants to protect us from ourselves. "Come, let us go down and there confuse their language, so that they may not understand one another's speech." So the Lord dispersed them from there over the face of all the earth. And they left off building the city. Therefore its name was called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of all the earth. And from there the Lord dispersed them over the face of all the earth. The judgment was both poetic and precise. The very unity they had misused became the means of their scattering. Their proud declaration, "Come, let us build," was answered by God's "Come, let us confuse." The name Babel sounds like the Hebrew word for confused, but it's also the origin of Babylon, which throughout Scripture becomes the symbol of human arrogance and rebellion against God. Notice that God didn't destroy the tower or punish the people with fire from heaven. He simply confused their communication. And the project collapsed on its own. When people can no longer understand each other, collaboration becomes impossible. The magnificent tower, the symbol of their pride and ambition, was abandoned mid-construction. This teaches us a pro tip about spiritual warfare. Sometimes God doesn't need to directly destroy human beings. Right, He simply withdraws the conditions that make sinful collaboration possible. And our proud projects crumble under their own weight. The scattering wasn't merely punishment, it was also fulfillment of God's original command to fill the earth. Even in judgment, God was working to accomplish His good purposes. The diversity of languages and nations that resulted from Babel, while initially a judgment, ultimately becomes the beautiful tapestry of human cultures that will one day be redeemed and worship God together in Revelation. So what are the moral lessons we can learn from the Tower of Babel? First, human unity and technological progress without submission to God inevitably lead to arrogance and rebellion. Second, God sets limits on human sinfulness not because he fears our power, but because he loves us enough to restrain our self-destructive tendencies. Third, seeking to make a name for ourselves rather than living for God's glory always leads to frustration and failure. And finally, what humanity intends for evil, God can redeem for good. The scattering that seemed like judgment actually fulfilled God's plan to populate the earth and eventually prepare the way for Pentecost, where people from every nation heard the gospel in their own language. The Tower of Babel stands as an eternal monument to the folly of trying to reach heaven through human effort, while the cross stands as the true way God reached down to humanity. If this exploration of one of the Bible's most intriguing stories has given you wisdom about the dangers of pride and the beauty of God's sovereign plans, please like and subscribe to this channel.